So tell your neighbor, good morning, neighbor. I am warning you. Don't become too comfortable where you at today. God will bring adjustment in your life. Some of you talking to nobody. Now, the Bible only talks about two categories of leaders in the Bible. There may be many offices, the fivefold. There may be many gifts. There may be whatever, but there's only two categories. And that is elders and deacons. There's only two. Elders and deacons. Thank you for correcting. But some of them behave like demons. The issue is, you either fall in those two categories, and Paul the Apostle gives us the variety of it. Now, let me talk to you quickly. This is what I love about leadership. I don't have to stay with a particular subject. I just speak my heart. I went to a pastor's conference and I told them, I said, guys, one day when I was a pastor, I got up in the morning. I said, God, put a gun in my hand. I want to go and kill some sheep. And so the guys came to me after and they said to me, how come you say such a thing? I said, what you mean? They said, you told God to give you a gun to kill the sheep. You want to shoot them. They said, we felt the same, but we couldn't share with nobody. How many of you know life is real? You know what's a big problem with many leaders? We don't admit we have pain. I have a young girl work for me in my staff. And anything I say to her, even if I reprimand her, she laughs. So one day I stopped her. I said, sweetie pie, I want to talk to you. She said, what's, Pastor? I said, see, you're laughing, but inside you're crying. She started to weep. Many times, we allow our laugh to silence our pain. And that's why we don't enjoy ministry. If God wants you to take a gun and shoot them, go shoot them and go have lunch. See, many times, we don't know how to deal with our pain. There's a friend of mine, you possibly heard of him, Dr. Sam Chun. He's got some fabulous books. One of the books that he's written is Leadership Pain. It deals with a very strong issue there. And leaders don't understand about that. Now, let me tell you where you have big problems with. It's called relationships. And the problem of your life may be today the person you're sitting next to. Can you see the sheepish laughs? Relationships. Now, whoever you are, you're going to have, in my opinion, 3 levels of relationship. Right? I'm not talking about marriage relationship because that's covenant. I'm not talking about your mother-in-law because she just walked into your life without being invited. Right? 3 levels. Covenant. What level is that? What level is inside here? covenant. Commitment. And the outside is the crowd. Can you see what I did for you? What? I gave you 3 C's. Covenant, commitment, crowd. Right? Now, listen. Whether you like it or not, you may have many friends, but every one of them are not at the same level. Some of them call you a friend, but they're not covenant with you. Now, I want you to understand this word covenant in Christian circles is used too cheaply. If you say you're my covenant brother, what you are saying is, you will protect my back and take a bullet for me. So I want to give you a very deep revelation today. How many of you want this revelation? You must get a submarine to go deep in the sea and get it. Because that's how deep this revelation is. If you have more than 5 people who are covenant in relationship with you, you are too rich. I'll ask you a question. If you got something that you has to share with somebody and they have to die with it, can you find that person this morning on your phone? Let's be honest. So the level of loyalty here is non-negotiable. But sometimes we just met a guy yesterday and we think he's my covenant friend. Because the guy gave you money, because the guy took on a holiday, doesn't mean he's your covenant. Covenant has a high level of loyalty. See, many people here say, what's your name, sir? Rodney. Right? Say, Rodney, I met him here today. I say, Rodney, I want you to walk with me. My big problem is that I have chosen Rodney to become a covenant friend with me. And when he lets me down, it is not his fault, it's my fault. Because relationships is a choice. And it's not his choice to be covenant with me, it's my choice to receive him. So, when you choose people to be close to you, don't go and choose the dog and the cat. You know what I'm talking about? Choose somebody you really know, you walked with. Covenant. So if you have more than these people, can you this morning write, anybody in this room can write more than 6 people's name that you are covenanted to? If that is you here, then I want to sit down and ask you to come and teach. Because it's almost impossible. It's almost impossible to have that level of relationship with more than these people. Now, how many Jesus had? Only 3. Peter, James, and John. And even those guys let him down. When he wanted them to pray with him at his finest hour, they were sleeping. See, now you have commitment. Commitment is a larger crowd. It's a larger crowd. But I ask you a question today. Who is the committed guys? The committed guy comes to work on time. He stops on time. He gives you full day labor. Is there as a good worker, highly disciplined, skilled. Everything you need is there. Very faithful. Remember, I said faithful, not loyal. I'll tell you why. Because when he goes outside and he hears somebody saying, we are going to steal our boss's copyrights, or we are going to do something against the boss. What this man will do, who's committed, he will give everything he can give, but when it is to protect the back of his boss, he'd say, I don't want to get involved with that. You know why? He is faithful, but he's not loyal. You notice what I just said? You see, people say, why do you talk like this? It's because I've been too long in ministry to have all the people who like me to be close to me. Because everybody who likes you, they may not be faithful to you. Everybody who likes you may not be loyal to you. How do you find out whether somebody is in covenant or somebody is in commitment? There's a simple word. It's called test. What's it called? Test. They say that you should not give people promotion until they go through the test. You have to give. And if you mature, they say you must deliberately test them. Deliberately. You know what I say? If you want to know somebody, put some fire under their feet. Now somebody says, why put fire? It's because when the fire burns, all the snakes come out. No fire, snakes sleep. Put some fire, everything jumps out. And who's the crowd? The whosoever. Did you learn something this morning? You ready to go home now? Okay. Now, tell your neighbor, this was just a bonus teaching. Pastor? Right, let's go ahead. I want to do some metaphors. I'll talk to you about 3 animals. Sheep, S-H-A-P, this is a P. Can I put something here quickly, Pastor? I said 3, but I'll put a sideline here. I'll come back to that, okay? What is this? This? Yeah. With sheep, there's also some or many goats. Right? Let's look at this. The Bible is very full of metaphors. And I believe here today, we are going to look at the metaphor of wolves, sheep, some goats, and horses. Now, to get the full teaching today, you have to stay with me till the end of the second teaching. Otherwise, you'll get part and then you will be confused. You must walk with me right through. I believe that as Pastor told me that this is a very intense teaching. And particularly in local churches, you need to understand you got all these people in the local church. Now, pastors and church workers and leaders, if you say to me, you got no problems in your church, then you have to do two things. One is, you should come here this morning and I should pray for you because you should repent from lying. Because I've been in church work for 39 years, I never had one perfect day. When you say that, as long as you have sheep and wolves and horses, you have work. I just tell you straight out, church work is messy business. What church work is? Messy business. So why it's messy business? It's easy to catch fish, but it's hard to clean the fish. That's why the evangelist comes and's gone, and the pastor has to clean. How about making the evangelist stay and help the pastor to clean? You see, lots of people don't understand how difficult pastoral work is. It's very difficult. I mean, let me ask you, can any one of you tell me, Pastor Gopaul, last night I wrote my schedule and you stayed 100% on that schedule for the entire of today? You'll never. You'll get a call. Somebody had an argument last night. You get a call, somebody died. You get a call, somebody's house was broken into. You get a call, some marriage problem. You get some call, the child don't want to go to school. You get a call, people can't pay their bills. You get a pastor is a jack of all trades. Yeah. See? And so it's hard work. And when you're out there, you would find it's difficult. And how do you work through this thing? You're just trying to get moving, and somebody has a hidden agenda. You just try to move, somebody gives you attitude. You know what I'm saying? It's a real thing. And as a leader, I believe, Rodney, how old are you, sir? 38. Well, Rodney, you're not there and you're not there. In other words, you're not too young, but you're not too old. You know what I'm saying? If you're 50 years and over, I presume that for you and for me, we have learned how to deal with some of these issues. Now, let me say this to you. Every one of you had a mess in church at some stage. Now, what is that mess called? In my book, it's called experience. What it's called? Experience. Now, never criticize experience. You say, well, Pastor Gopaul, there's so much of pain. There's so much of confusion. There's so much of hard work. That's what life is about. If you don't want to work hard, get out of the ministry. Ministry is hard work. It's not for wimps. You can take a punch, wipe the blood, and act as if nothing happened. Continue. That's what life is about. If you want to help other people. If you're a crybaby, how are you going to help other crybabies? So I said that messy business is experience. But when you start growing, like Rodney here, 38, like Pastor 22, when you grow, your experience, Rodney, becomes wisdom. So why are you going through that experience. Because down the road, somebody else is going to go through the same or similar experience, and you will share wisdom. And wisdom is connected to something. It's connected to maturity. That's why you cannot have novices and babies and immature people in the ministry. You have to develop. You have to grow. And let's look at some of the characteristics of a wolf, okay? I am not going to write everything down. I think they're recording it, but you need to write. And by the way, don't write in Afrikaans and don't write in English. Write in shorthand. Right? Because we're going to move fast. I'm already over time. So I've got another 20 minutes. I'm going to push. Number one, wolves say yes outwardly to spiritual authority, but they say no in their hearts. I'll repeat for those of you writing in Afrikaans. This past year, Gerard, Pastor sent him to pick me up from the airport yesterday. And when he was bringing me here, he's talking to me. And then he talks in English. And in the middle, he switches to Afrikaans. I said, oh, Jesus, now he's talking in tongues. I need Pastor Kubus to interpret. Speak in English or Afrikaans. Don't speak into both. Now, there's the big thing. He says, no, I know it in English, but it sounds lekker in Afrikaans. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay, brother. Okay, now, wolves say yes outwardly to spiritual authority, but they say no in their hearts. Listen. Can I give you some good advice? Do you want good advice? Never listen to people's words. Interpret their body language. I'm going to repeat. Never listen to people's words. Learn how to interpret their body language. You heard about Tommy. His name is Rodney. I'll tell you a story about Tommy. Tommy is a 6-year-old boy. His mom said, Tommy, sit down. Tommy said, Mama, I'm not going to sit down. His mother said, Tommy, sit down. He said, Mama, I'm not going to sit down. He says, Tommy, I brought you in the world. I can take you out. Sit down. So Tommy sits. And Tommy takes his seat. And Tommy puts his hand up. Mama says, Tommy, what's wrong? Tommy said, Mama, I just want to tell you something. I am sitting on the outside. But on the inside, I'm standing up. That's how wolves are. They say yes on the outside, but no on the inside. Number two, wolves have their own vision. They have their own vision. Don't be deceived. Now, every one of you, I want to give you a prayer project. You want a prayer project? Every day in your life, you must pray for the spirit of discernment. Amen. You have to pray. If you want to be a good leader, you must pray for what? Spirit of discernment. Because you're going to get a lot of people talk to you, and you need to discern where they're coming from. You understand? I don't want to say, oh, you're my pal. But he's waiting to take money out of your pocket. He's waiting for you so that you can fall and he can stamp on you. You have to be careful. Number 3, wolves are not ministerially accountable, and they always walk in the dark. In other words, they are not honest people. They do not have open relationships. They always have what I call a hidden agenda. People will not be accountable. When people are not accountable, one of the signs is the metaphor of them being a wolf. How many of you right now, you got some names with people that work with you, have just hit your mind? Now, don't put those names in the notes. You know what I'm talking about? Because it cause total confusion. You know? It'll be what you say in Afrikaans, a gemos. Hey? Don't do that now. Wolves are not authentic. They are not authentic. Why? Because they attempt to look like a sheep. See, when you attempt to look like a sheep, you're not authentic. On the outside, you put sheep's clothes, but the inside, you got a wolf's heart. It's a big thing. You know, I got so much of notes here, but I'm not going to take too long on this thing. We're going to move on. How many I gave you? 4. Okay. 5. Wolves position themselves. See, she's writing in English. She's such a sweetie girl. You met a sweetie girl, but you write in Afrikaans. I can see your mind is working. You're doing interpretation. For my TV program, can you do translation? You think people fall off to sleep? Or he'll do to what one guy did to me in the island of Reunion. I'm preaching. Now, I like making jokes, but I didn't make jokes, and the people are laughing. And I'm preaching, and the people are laughing. And I'm preaching, and the people are laughing. Then we go and have a cup of tea. So I asked the senior people, pastor, what's so funny about my sermon? He says, nothing. I said, why people love it? The interpreter is not interpreting or translating what you said. He's preaching his own sermon. Oh, Jesus. It's the island of Reunion. I mean, these guys are crazy. Yeah. You know, when I go to India and they interpret, you have say, my guys interpret for you. We go to India, the guys interpret. In India, every state has its own dialect and own language. And so, when they interpret, you are praying, Lord, I hope he's repeating what I'm saying. Because his language is so funny that you don't understand. And that's when you really have a revelation what took place at the Tower of Babel. Now, wolves position themselves to be close to those in power. Those in power. They position themselves. They will suck up to you, pastor. They will buy you gifts. They'll give you, the wolves sometimes give you the biggest financial blessing. Because they want to be close to you. But you know, everything they do, they have an ulterior motive. Ulterior motive. And so you have to be careful of these guys. They don't even understand what it is to be loyal. Number 6, wolves desire the perks. You need to write this down. Wolves desire the perks of the organization without paying the price for the organization. And anybody who does not pay the price, they don't value the organization. Understand? See, I will not allow anybody who doesn't pay tithes count the money of the church. Because they don't pay tithes. I'd not let anybody work in the church if they don't pay tithes. Why? Because I don't need your money. Tithes is a test of you paying into the organization. And when you don't pay into the organization, it's easy for you to smash it and walk away. So you need to understand how wolves operate. Metaphor. Always remember that, Rodney. Metaphor. See? Talking about wolves. But really you're not talking about wolves. You're talking about characteristics of a wolf. Number 7. Wolves camouflage their motives and actions with spirituality. They camouflage their motives and actions with spirituality. See? Now, let's stop here for a while and talk about this. Do you know that wolves sometimes sound more spiritual than your sheep? They might even have tongues and interpretation of tongues. They might even have prophecy. I remember a lady in our church always liked to give prophecy over the church. One day, she and her husband just got up, took some people, went and started their own church. So I asked the question, people who have gifts, does their gifts give them credit in the church? Or do their motives? Their motives must give them credit in the church. The heart, do they come with a transparent nature? Or do they come with a hidden motive? See? Because they're looking forward. And they don't mind paying time because they know where they want to go to. You see, they won't expose themselves and get angry and have all kinds. Because remember, a wolf is in sheep's clothes. So the wolf is trying to behave like a sheep. So it's not going to behave like the wolf. So as long as it can, it will allow itself to be in camouflage. I hope the Lord sometimes take their clothes out and we can see the black wolf. But they put on sheep's clothes. And you know, pastors, sometimes even demons, they say, praise the Lord. No discernment. No discernment. We have to discern. So that's why your prayer request every morning, God, let me have discernment. Actually, if you're a businessman, you need discernment. Why? You need to know whether they come in with the right deal or they come in with a camouflage. You know, some people, they spend 1 year and all their savings on a certain business deal and they got no understanding that that deal is not coming through. And after a year, everything falls apart. But if you asked for God for discernment and knew it was a wolf before you started negotiation, you wouldn't waste your time. You wouldn't waste your time. You see? So discernment is a fundamental requirement, not for people in ministry, but to live an ordered life. To know who to have. To know, you see, the other page, I'm not saying I don't want you as a friend, but I have the right to say you are not in my inner circle. You see? I have a right to say that. Now, Pastor comes to Durban and he knows my friends. I've got a 4-ball. You're going to be surprised when you come back, Cass, when I play golf. The guys you played with, some of the guys are with me, other guys won't. Because this year I turned 60. And then I had to look at these guys playing golf with me. And I said, that guy playing golf with me, but he don't have my values. That guy there don't have my passion. So I send them a love letter. And I said, guys, I love you, but you can't be on my 4-ball anymore. Why? I'm not going to spend the next 10 fruitful years of my life with people who don't have my values. Because remember, I've got 10 best years, 60 to 70. After 70, then I'll come and spend some time with you. But from now to then, I'm not going to have people around me in my inner circle play golf with me once a week. You don't have my values. You can even pay for me, buy my lunch, but that's cheap. I don't want to have people around me that don't speak the language I speak, pursue the goals I'm pursuing. You see? Because what happens? Down the road, they're going to drop you. It's going to take you 1 year, 2 years to overcome that. 2 years of your life gone down the tubes. Why? Wrong decision. Everybody say, wrong decisions brings unnecessary regret. How many right here, right now, you regret what you did a couple years ago? Huh? Some of you haven't been delivered it from yet. You haven't been delivered from that regret. I can see it in your face. I can see that pain coming right now. I can see how you want to go kill that fellow right now. See, when you make a mistake, the regret is long. And so, you don't want to give prime life to people who don't have your values. People who cheat. People who don't have kingdom. Why do you want to go and mess around with all of them? I'll ask you a question. Why do you want to have a talented person on your staff, in your leadership, and yet you know that person is talented but don't have character? Listen, none of you are foolish like the people in Durban. I can see your wisdom in this room. So I am saying this, with your wisdom, listen guys, let's talk now, okay? How many of you know when somebody comes into your life, something in your gut says, run away. But your heart is so stupid, say stay. Is that right? And what happens when you don't listen to your gut? Hello? I didn't hear that. Hey, Cassie, what? No, I didn't hear it. I didn't hear. I want you to say this many times until you get frustrated. Why? How many of us are so stupid we don't learn from experience? Experience does not have to produce stupidness. Experience has to produce wisdom. Wisdom brings you to maturity. Come on, somebody. Am I being hard on you? I'm being real, eh? You know why? I got 10 years left. I'm going to mess it up. I'm going to mess it up. Next week, Monday, my wife and I, we're traveling to Brazil to do some leadership, Portuguese people, and then we're flying up to Panama. Now, I'm going to Panama because of you. It's because my friend, Sam Chan, went to Panama Canal, and he's shown how this Panama Canal had to expand, and they had to enlarge it because these big ships had to come through. And he calls it systems and structure. And many of you have structure, but you don't have systems. Some of you have systems, but you don't have structure. And systems is put in place by a visionary, structure by admin. That's what I'm saying. See, like me now, I'm not an administrative guy. I always tell my wife, so let's do this. She says, who's going to pay for it? How come wives can see that thing right through? And so I say to her, sweetheart, let me just tell you, I am the visionary. I'm the structure. You are the administration. You are the systems. You understand? In other words, a visionary draws the big thing, and the person administration puts in the right spots and the right dots and put in the right colors and may bring the detailed. You see? And listen, guys, if your wife is administrative, it makes you look good. Yeah, I understand what I'm saying. If your wife is the administrator, like my wife, she makes me look good. Everybody in the church thinks I'm the administrator and the visionary. Of course, I have a right because she stays in my rooms, in my house. So the point is, you need to understand that there's a lot of issues here, a lot of issues. And you have to understand leadership is not about wolves and sheep and horses. It's much more than that. It's huge. See, like he came to have breakfast with me this morning, and we're talking, challenging. I'm challenging him. He's challenging me on leadership issues. You see, when I take pastors out for lunch, I'm challenging them. Like I met 2 pastors on the airport yesterday. So I said, what do you teach in leadership? Excellence. So I now put some fire under his feet because I'm senior to him. I said, what is the definition? So he gives me some definition. And you know, I don't agree with your definition. You have to have my definition. And so I gave him my definition. But I told him, your definition is good as well. But excellence is attention to detail. Produces superior performance. Ultimately brings you promotion. Don't take all my teaching, go teach people and tell them you are teaching them what you... Right, what number we in? 8. Is it 8? 8 waiting by the gate at 8:30. Okay? Wolves use and abuse people. Remember that. Wolves will always use and abuse people to accomplish their own agenda. Their own agenda. They will always eat people and spit them out. How many of you have been in companies where someone came in, bought you breakfast, brought lunch for you, brought you water, gave you juice, but down the road they found out everything about you? And they took your weak spots and they walked right over you. They elbowed you out and told the boss, you are not doing it, they are doing it. That's what wolves are. They always are very sneaky. So they will use and abuse people. That's why a true pastor will always appreciate people. A shepherd would love people. It's a key factor for you to be in church work. Never use people for your own good and benefit. Use them for God's benefit. By the way, God doesn't want to use you. God wants to first make you before He can use you. See? Number 9. Wolves cannot be led. They cannot be led. They don't want to be led. They'll always fight. They are the ones that got a very intelligent question to always oppose to senior leadership. Always. They got a, what I call a curveball. They got a curveball. And that's what happens. People don't understand that. You need to understand that. Then number 10. Wolves attempt to destroy shepherds. They always will go for the head. Why will they want to destroy shepherds? So that they can consume the sheep. They can consume the sheep. They'll tear the sheep apart. Because why? They are bloodsuckers. Now, one of the questions I was asked, giving this teaching once, is someone said to me, how do you get rid of wolves? You know, all of you have had people that had come into your organization and they've come with a hidden agenda. And many times, because if you have a big church, you don't even know they exist until they start rising up in leadership level, or they'll try to be influential, or they'll try to get the top leaders' attention. See? And they always throw money around. Always pay the bill for the dinners and for the functions. And so you need to understand that wolves will always be there. Now, as I talked about this, doesn't it make your head pain? Does it make your head pain? Can I release that pain? Okay. I'll release that pain and we're going to take a break. It's 11:05. Right? I've opened your eyes today to a metaphor how human beings are either in 3 levels in your church. Either a wolf, a sheep, and horses. I want to give you some good news. You only have a maximum if you have 5% of people that normally turn out to be wolves. You normally have 5% of people that turn out to be real horses, and you have 90% of people who are sheep. Now, as much as that alleviates the pain on your head, because now you know that everybody in the church is not a wolf. Okay? I was watching you. That's what the Lord told me. Thus saith the Lord. You've been thinking everyone was a wolf. Actually, you even thought the person sitting right next to you is a wolf. Ronelle, just hug them for me, sweetie. She's hugging the lady. She said, no, you're not a wolf. Now, here's the issue. Ronald. Here's the issue. The issue is, if you don't watch out for this 5%, they can devour the 90%. You heard what I said? Pastor, you heard what I said? If you don't identify the 5%, it will kill your 90%. Everybody say discernment. Thank you, Pastor.